Copywriting Techniques and Approaches for B2B Companies with Bidani. The Strategic Marketing Show is brought to you by Insights for Professionals, providing access to the latest industry insights from trusted brands, all in a customized, tailored experience. Find out more over at insightsforprofessionals.com. Hey, it's David. You may have a great marketing strategy. You may have embraced the most effective tactics, but if you don't know how to explain what your company or product does in a clear and powerful way, nothing else matters. Today I'm having a conversation with a lady who helps SaaS, tech and IoT companies from pre-seed to enterprise acquire more customers and more profitability through powerful conversion copy and messaging. She has over 12 years of experience working in direct sales and conversion copywriting and is the founder of Greenlight Copy. A warm welcome to the Strategic Marketing Show, Bidani.
Hi, David. Thanks for having me here today.
Well, thanks so much for joining us. Well, you can find Aidan over at greenlightcopy.com. So how does copywriting bring a marketing strategy to life?
So great question to kick this off with. So where copywriting really ties into marketing is, again, copywriting is an interface between between our marketing strategy and then what the users actually experience, what their experience is of that marketing strategy. So copywriting has a much bigger role to play than a lot of people realize. A lot of people say people don't read online. A lot of people say, but everyone just watches videos, or, it's TikTok, it's YouTube Shorts, it's everything like that these days. No one actually reads. It's only when you actually take copywriting away or copy out of a marketing asset that you actually realize that it's very, very hard to actually communicate those key messages that you want people to take away with as a result of interacting with your marketing. So it's not just here's a headline, here's a subheading, here's some bullet points explaining what the offer is. It's actually what messages do we want our target audience to have in their head as a result of engaging with us? What do we want them to take away with? What kind of impact do we want them to? Do we want to move them from one stage of awareness to another? Again, not every marketing campaign is going to result in direct leads, but often if it's a brand awareness campaign, for example, what do we want them to feel, or what's that impact, what's that end result on them that we want to have? What's that shift in their understanding about the company that we want to see as a result of having them interact with these marketing assets? Or if you are looking to generate, again, those specific metrics, what kind of results, what kind of conversions are you looking to drive as a result? Or what again, as I mentioned, what stage of awareness would you like people to be in as a result of having interacted with the marketing? So it's not as simple as saying like something copy should be long or copy should be short, or a copy is just words on a page. It is that medium for that people interact with, and that's how they understand who you are, what you do, what your offer brings to the table, how you can help them. And without it, it's very, very tricky to get that across, even in the space of video.
I mean, it's certainly important, but I guess the challenge is that some marketers don't understand or really embrace the importance of it. I would think that some strategy professionals, some marketers that love video, for example, just might not get too excited about written copy. How do you add that excitement and make people aware of how important it is?
So one of the first things is just to that point exactly for everyone and I am also a big believer in video. Just because a video exists doesn't mean that copywriting doesn't. There's no need for copywriting anymore. Copywriting is what writes the script and directs the narrative of the video so that they actually achieve the purpose that we want them to achieve in the first place. But just to that point, you see there's actually a marked increase in engagement from videos, for example, that have the subtitles or that have captions automatically generated with them as a result, simply because not everyone wants to listen with the sound on. Not everyone wants to listen. People like to read as much as they do like to watch at the same time. So that's actually something that's really interesting. So if you think that the copywriting doesn't actually matter, try pushing out a video, one with subtitles, one with captions, one without, and usually the engagement on the with captions is much, much higher because people are actually reading and making sure that they're grasping the full context of the video or the messages that are being shared while they're actually watching the people talk at the same time. So to answer that, I'd say look at all we need to do is actually look at what's currently happening in the world. I mean, with the availability of so many different devices, so many different platforms, so many different avenues for connection and communication with our customers, people at this point in time, they're so fragmented. Their attention spans are very much fragmented. They're easily distractible. They've got 3,001 things happening in their lives simultaneously, not just even in the content that they're viewing on these different social platforms and mediums that they're using. It could be email, social, or even just as they're browsing through their favorite blog. They've got so many different distractions and things happening at the same point in time, and they've got things that are happening in their life in general that are happening in the background as a whole, aside for these 5 minutes that they're now browsing social. So you have to have that understanding of how you're able to connect with them in the shortest possible amount of time. And creative messages are great and they can deliver a big impact, but they take a lot of time for people to process. Strategic messages, they're great and they can also deliver a big impact, but not everyone in that 5 minutes of time that they have is in a position to buy right this second. So, or you're targeting people, often the strategic marketers are really targeting people that are really looking to buy right the second, and the creative ones are looking for people to make an impact. But the people that you're trying to speak to literally have these maybe 5 minutes of their time that they're spending, or that you have this window of opportunity that's only 5 minutes big in either perspective, and that people might not be in that right frame of mind to purchase. They might not be in that right frame of mind to process a really creative message, because it takes a lot of time to actually digest that message and absorb it in the middle of what they're actually doing in that 5 minutes on the platform in the first place. So copywriting, we find, is that it's the shortest way. It's actually the fastest way to communicate who you are, what you do, why you're awesome at it in the shortest space of time. If you can have that crunched down into 1 to 2 sentences, it makes an instant impact with someone. They understand who you are and what you do, even if they then keep browsing past your message, keep scrolling through the feed, keep watching other videos. You've made an impact. You've been able to reach them, and you've got a message now stuck in their head. And that's a message that they can keep carrying with them throughout the rest of the day, beyond, like when they leave the platform. That's a message that they can take with them in their mind. So a creative message, it takes a lot of time. The cognitive load is high. It takes a lot of time to process it. They might not have processed it enough to be able to take the impact of that, the true impact of that, away with them in that little slice of time that they had. The same for the more strategic marketers who are really focused on performance. Might not have had that there. If they saw that you were pressed too hard to push them to buy right now, a lot of people will be saying, well, I'm not interested in buying right now. And they will actually dismiss the message without actually looking at the bigger impact of what you're trying to express. So copywriting is able to marry the best of both worlds in that sense. So you do end up achieving performance because you're able to get it stuck literally inside someone's head with 1 or 2 sentences that keep bouncing around in there. You're able to be held there in their subconscious. So when they are ready to buy, you're the first name that comes to mind. And same with creative. You have that message has gotten through. So it has made an impact. It's made them feel something as a result of connecting with it. When people understand, when the value of what you deliver is clear, and when people understand that, it's huge. And it's just just having that. I mean, my favorite saying lately is clarity is persuasive. Just that natural clarity is persuasive. You don't have to be particularly creative. It's going to sound weird. You don't have to be particularly creative. You don't have to be particularly strategic. But that clarity of messaging is just so persuasive because it helps people be able to process all that information about your company and then remember it to be able to act on it afterwards.
So you mentioned a couple of sentences a couple of times there, and I think that many online copywriters are perhaps guilty of spending a lot of time on the body content and just writing as much as they can on researching that and making sure that's relevant and they've got the volume that they're being asked to produce, but probably not much time on the headline for the content. So what kind of mistakes do you generally see with headlines, and what are a few tips that you could give to write headlines more effectively? Yeah,
absolutely. So with regards to headlines specifically, It depends on what kind of marketing asset that you're looking at, or what the purpose or the goal of the campaign is as well that you're working on. With a headline specifically, a lot of headlines make the mistake of trying to do everything at the same time. So there's a current trend in conversion rate optimization, for example, where you say the hero section on the landing page or a home page should give the reader as much, it should tell people everything they need to know so that they can make a decision whether to stay on the page and keep reading, or they can, or, you know, if this is something that resonates with them, or if they should actually just bounce back, it's not relevant. But one of the things that's difficult is that if you do give away all that information in the hero section, in that headline of the homepage, people judge the entire website then based on that one headline. And if it doesn't pull them into actually reading the copy, it doesn't make them interested in wanting to read more, then they're going to bounce anyway. They're going to think there's nothing worth for me. I know everything now. There's nothing worth for me. It's not worth me browsing the site, and they will actually go away. So one of the things a lot of headlines make the mistake of is trying to do too much. So they become too broad and they become too fluffy. So it's like, grow your business, or win more customers and grow your business, or sell more online. Any company can say that. It might be true. That's what your customers are looking to do, but really all companies in the world are saying we're going to help you make more time, or save more time, or make more money, or save more money, save more money. It all comes down to whether it's related to time or money. Everyone can say those things. So those headlines that are trying to encompass everything about the company are often going too broad, and then it becomes actually meaningless, because any other company can make that same argument. Or they again, by going too broad or too high level, by trying to communicate everything about the company in that small section that you have, they're actually losing the attention span of people who are actually reading it. I'll just give you a small example. A company that I worked with a while ago, they were struggling. The bounce rate was pretty high on their page. I can't recall the exact number off the top of my head, but the bounce rate was quite high for the home page. So what we actually, and the headline that they had was a very action focused. It was talking about what you can do with the product. It was like buy, sell, and hire, something like that. It was very, very action. 3 to 5 to 6 words. It fit all the headline requirements, but people weren't staying on the page to actually read any of the other copy. So what we actually simply changed the headline to was, there's a better way to work with contractors. That's it. Like, literally, that's what we changed. So there's a better ways. We didn't actually say, and then the subheading actually expanded a little bit on that, but it gave more context, but it didn't give all the juiciest bits of information away. It simply gave them enough to understand what we're talking about here and what's the problem that the product is solving. And we didn't make any other changes on the page, and the CMO actually implemented those changes in the meantime, and it cut the bounce rate in half, and it doubled the scroll depth, and it pretty much doubled the time on page as well that people were actually reading. So it's a matter of making sure that the headline was actually pulling people into reading the copy, like there is something interesting for you to discover here, rather than just trying to give them all the information up front. It's like with a sales pitch. When someone goes with a sales pitch, they don't start rattling off a long laundry list of benefits of the product. People just it's too much for them to process. They actually lose focus, and then the sale of it, the pitch often ends with the customer saying, "I'll think about it," and they go away. And it's the same thing with the hero sections or with these headlines. I'll think, okay, it sounds good. I'll think about it, and people go away, rather than trying to pull them in gently, saying, look, this is something that we think is really, this is something interesting. There's something waiting for you to discover here.
I love your example there. There's a better way to work with contractors. A really nice headline. You can just imagine it's playing to someone's challenge that they're actually having at the moment, but not providing the answer. So people do have to scroll down and actually find what the answer is and engage with your page a little bit more. What I'm thinking, though, from that particular headline is it may make you on a collision course with SEOs. Do you ever butt head with SEOs to actually come up with content? And if so, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So a lot of the good SEOs that I've worked with lately, they've been telling me to make sure that the page is first designed for conversion, that the page is a conversion first. Actually, with the Google's helpful content update that was released recently, that is the whole focus of SEO pages. So it's not just if it has the right terms on pages or the right number of short tail keywords, long tail keywords, the right repeated the right number of times. It's not a numbers game anymore. It's can the user find the information that they're looking for? Is the page engaging for them? So that's a huge indicator for Google in terms of how relevant that content actually is. So it's not just did we hit the right keywords, it's did we hit the right keywords plus is the page actually designed for a good user experience. So there are creative ways that you can still work on hitting those keywords, even if it's not in the H1 or if it's in subheading and throughout the rest of the page. There are things, for example, what we call eyebrow copy. So you'll see it sometimes. You go on websites, there'll be a big headline, but there'll be a tiny, tiny strip of a couple of words just above the headline. So it might have a couple of keywords in there. So you still get some keywords in the hero section, or you make sure that the keywords that you're looking for are in the alt text of the image, or that they're actually in the subheading or something like that.
There are many different uses of copy, and one significant use of copy for B2B marketers is email. So do you have any thoughts on what you see as good practice and not so good practice in copywriting for the medium of email?
Yeah, so great. And that's really a great point. The biggest thing that I find with email is, it depends on the type of email. For example, a cold email that you send that marketing is helping create for their SDRs, for their sales development reps to send out, is very different to nurturing campaigns that customers are sending, or even the regular email newsletters that they might be sending out to their list. So there's a couple of different things at play. For example, in the first example with cold emails, a lot of people try to sell in the cold emails, but the cold emails should be looking as opening the door to a conversation. You can't really force a sale, especially the higher up the price of the product, what it is that you're selling. The higher the ticket price climbs, the more difficult, the longer the sales cycle is going to be anyway. So cold email should be looking at opening the door to a conversation rather than trying to sell immediately. Likewise for email newsletters and for nurturing emails that people might be sending. For nurturing emails, for example, if someone signed up for an ebook or opted into a webinar and you want to try and nurture them into a lead, I would take the same approach, for example, as a cold email. You want to open the door to a conversation, not overwhelm them with information or make people feel like they're being spammed. Again, it comes down to this idea of how much time does someone actually have to read, process their emails. How many emails sit in their promotions tab unopened? How many emails did they actually get a chance to read and go through it in depth? You have to try and reach to a person. The emails that get responded to are ones that are opening the door to a conversation, ones that ask a question that is going to prompt that they're going to want to answer as a result. The general email copy for like newsletters and things like that, it's just a matter of making sure that what you're sending is really relevant to them, is really helpful to them. I was interviewing once a VP of marketing for another client who was a digital marketing agency. I asked her, where do you go to get news and information from? Do you have an email newsletter that you follow? Do you have blogs that you like to visit or anything like that? And she said, I just ask a friend. She said, I don't have time. I sign up for webinars that I don't attend to. I download ebooks that I don't read. She said, I just don't literally have the time. And though she said it for her, it's actually the same for all of us. A lot of us we do all these things that we'd like to do, but that we don't actually have any intent on following through with. So you can't try to force someone to have that intent to read or intent to buy. You can help promote it and encourage it by delivering them email newsletter content that's short, to the point, something that's really interesting actually for them and really helpful for them, not just, hey, here's some company update. And just at the same time, making sure that it's personalized and relevant and it's something that they're going to want to read, something that they can consume quickly. You want to really help them get into a habit of engaging with your emails, that there is something interesting. They found something interesting in this email, the next email should also they will expect the next email to also be interesting for them. So try to figure out what matters to them the most and then make the emails about that rather than just what the company is doing at this point in time. There's all sorts of creative ways people can work through that. I saw someone in a Slack group the other day. They said they mentioned they did something very, very roped into the holiday season. So instead of encouraging people to So to encourage people to answer a survey that they wanted their email list to respond to, they did it, and you were able to make a donation, or they had like a secret Santa or something else going on. So some people would get a prize. And so they tied it in, they made it actually fun and engaging instead of just saying, we put the survey out, we'd like you to answer it. So it's just a matter of trying to make sure that you're really trying to reach through to the person on the other side and not just sending something out because you have to send it out from a strategic perspective.
So let's move on from what works now to planning for the future. So in your opinion, what's the biggest marketing trend or challenge for marketers over the coming year?
I think the biggest challenge is definitely going to be differentiation. Because right now what has happened as a result of a lot of conversion rate optimization or even copywriting best practices is that a lot of companies are starting to sound the same. The space in the competition, the space is getting more crowded, especially, for example, if you look at SaaS or MarTech or anything, any of these companies, the spaces are getting more crowded. Online spaces are getting more crowded, even though there are still multiple channels and places for people to market. Everything is so much more noisy and so much more crowded. So the only way to really make sure that people are going to listen to you is to come with a really strong and opinionated message or a really strong point of view, a really unique, different direction. Doesn't mean that the company or that the product necessarily has to be better than a competing product, but in order to actually get someone's attention in the first place, you have to have a very strong way of presenting that message. You have to make sure that you're really niching down and you're being very specific with your copy for the right target audience, not trying to, again, grow your business and win more customers, and grow your business online, because that's what literally everyone online can say, anyone who's marketing themselves online. But really drilling down to what that actually means, there's a better way to do X, or here is one important thing that you can achieve, or here's an idea that we want you to hold on to. For another company I was working with recently, so the idea is that they wanted to go down the path of let's be as broad as possible to attract new customers. But after we worked together on the headline for quite a bit, we realized that by narrowing the focus, it would make it much more attractive. So the new headline, for example, became Unlock Your Company's Most Powerful Asset. So instead of coming from the approach, it's like keep your employees engaged and communicating with each other, it was actually Unlock Your Company's Most Powerful Asset. So it's which is their people. So it's a real juxtaposition between what sounds like it's trying to reach the largest group of people as possible versus a stronger message that's going to actually cut through that noise. It's still going to reach a large number of people, but it's going to reach more of the right people. It's actually going to make more people sit up and pay attention to what you're doing.
I've been your host, David Bain. You can find Eden Bidani over at greenlightcopy.com. Eden, thanks so much for being on the Strategic Marketing Show.
No, that's all right. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And thank you for listening. Here at IFP, our goal is simple: to connect you with the most relevant information to help solve your business problems all in one place. insightsforprofessionals.com.